Okay, let's unpack this. We've been handed a convergence that, I mean, it truly exists on multiple planes.
It really does.
You've got a calendar event, an astronomical phenomenon, and a powerful spiritual mandate, all just collapsing onto this one single point.
Thursday, December 4, 2025. Or Kislev 14, 5-7-86.
Exactly. And according to all the sources we've looked at, this is anything but a standard winter full moon.
Not at all. It's being framed as a singular intentional alignment. The sources don't just observe it, they actually give it a title.
A title.
Yeah, the night of activated revelation and secured alignment. So our mission for this deep dive is to isolate those specific building blocks, the celestial, the numerical, the linguistic, and really understand why they intersect like this.
Right, because the hook in the source material, it sets the stakes incredibly high for you, for the listener. It claims this isn't just for passive reflection, but it's a moment of powerful activation and assured destiny.
Whereas they say the heavens preach.
The heavens preach. I love that. So let's start where the sources do, with the visible foundation, the supermoon, and the season it lands in.
Okay, so let's start with the cold supermoon. Astronomically, it's defined by a condition called perigee.
Perigee. That just means close, right?
The absolute closest point to Earth in its orbit. And that closeness, that physical proximity, makes it appear up to 14% larger and, get this, 30% brighter than a typical full moon.
And since it's December, it gets that traditional name, the cold moon. But the sources, they immediately take this physical reality, this intense magnified light, and they just shift it into a spiritual metaphor.
Right. That physical nearness, the perigee, is instantly interpreted as a parable.
A parable of God drawing near.
Exactly. The logic presented is simple. The closer the light source, the greater the illumination. So the sources conclude this leads to increased light and divine nearness, which tangibly magnifies revelation.
I have to push on that for a minute, though. Are the sources suggesting this is just, a poetic idea, or is there a mechanism? How does a gravitational pull on the tides translate into magnified revelation?
That's a great question. And the sources are actually quite specific. They see the physical law confirming the spiritual principle. The mechanism isn't about gravity.
Okay.
It's about the science function. They argue that when the moon physically hits its maximum illumination and nearness, it creates this kind of spotlight effect in the spiritual realm.
That's spotlight.
Yeah, forcing what was hidden or murky into undeniable focus. It's God creating a visible sign that says, I am close, and I am shining maximum light on your current situation.
That makes the shift from just watching something to actively receiving it much clearer. And this dramatic, oversized light, it lands squarely in the month of Kislev.
Correct. And Kislev itself carries a core theme: light, faith, and assurance. This is the month of divine illumination. It's the month that culminates with Hanukkah.
The festival of lasting, miraculous light. So the promise of the entire month is spiritual assurance. It's the idea that the light won't fail.
The oil supply will not run out.
Right. And that active faith is the key to overcoming darkness.
So when you pair the spiritual atmosphere of Kislev, which is already focused on light prevailing, with the supermoon, well, it's the physical maximum confirmation of light prevailing in the night sky. The message becomes undeniable.
It's a visual sermon.
It is a visual sermon confirming Kislev's core declaration. The light rules the night, and that light is closer than ever before.
That sets the stage perfectly. We have the maximal light, the maximal nearness, and the seasonal theme of assurance. But the specific mandate for action comes from the date itself, right?
Right. Now we get into the numerical mandates, the day 14 and the year 5786.
This is where we shift from the general atmosphere to the specific instruction.
Let's start with the power of the number 14, Kislev 14.
Okay, so 14 is defined as deliverance plus double completion. It's double 7, right? And 7 is perfection or completion.
Exactly. And it lands on the day of the full moon, which itself marks a closing cycle, the fullness of preparation, and the launch of something new.
So the emphasis here is really on completion.
It is. When 14 lands on the day of peak light, it's seen as the final seal on a long-running issue. It signifies that the confusing, frustrating cycle you might have been battling is officially complete. That's a huge assurance for you, the listener.
It is. But if 14 signifies completion, wouldn't that also imply, a moment of intense final resistance before the cycle truly closes?
Oh, they absolutely speak to that. They frame 14 as the final push date. We see this pattern in Scripture.
Like Passover.
Exactly. The deliverance of Passover happens on the 14th of Nisan, but that was preceded by the 10th final plague. It was immense darkness and conflict right before the ultimate breakthrough.
So it's not just about passively receiving, it's the moment for that final act of faith to confirm the completion.
Precisely. And that's vital context. It shifts the 14th from a resting point to a launch pad. It's the closing chapter before the new book begins.
Yeah.
We link this moment of completion, the 14, to the mandate for the entire year, 5786.
And the meaning of 57786 comes from the last two letters of the year. Peh, which is 80, and Vav, which is 6. The sources call this the year of the uttered word securing alignment.
And we need to slow down and define those because they're critical. Peh literally means mouth.
Else.
It represents the power of speech, of declaration. Think of it as your spiritual microphone for the year.
And Vav is crucial here. Vav is the ancient picture for a hook, a connection.
Yes. It represents securing, connecting, aligning something. If you have a destiny plan, Vav is like the spiritual hook you use to anchor that vision into your reality.
So the mandate for this specific night is incredibly practical then.
Very. The declarations you make using your Peh are intended to bypass delays and immediately hook purpose into the kingdom flow for the whole year of 5786.
So you're not just speaking generally, you're performing an act of securing alignment for the next 12 months. It's like locking in your GPS coordinates for the year ahead.
Exactly.
And this brings us right to the synthesis, the aha moment, where we combine the supermoon, the 14, and this Peh Vav mandate to really grasp the core message. Secured clarity.
Okay, so look at the convergence. You take the supermoon, providing that maximum spotlight.
And you add the number 14, signifying the completion of the confusing cycle.
And what you get is the peak of revelation.
So the sources are saying that any murkiness, any lingering doubt about which way to go is now impossible to miss.
The sheer force of the convergence brings maximum clarity. And this is where the theme of alignment is secured gets confirmed by the physical universe. The prophetic theme of the year, Vav, or connection.
Is physically confirmed by the astronomical event, perigee, or nearness?
Yes, the connection is profound. What God brings near, he intends to secure.
So this night is explicitly for declaring that delayed parts of your life, relationships, career paths, anything that felt out of sync, are being hooked into their divine timeline right now.
And the implication is, if you see the clarity, that's the supermoon plus 14, you must immediately act on it. That's the Peh.
The clarity isn't a suggestion, it's a mandate for utterance. This really emphasizes the critical role of the Peh element, doesn't it?
It does. The revelation isn't meant to be passively observed, like watching a movie. It must be declared. The spoken word acts as the anchor, the pegs that hold the breakthrough in place for all of 5786.
It moves the concept from revelation to retention.
It's the activation that seals the alignment. It's spiritual construction. And the sources provide a beautiful, powerful collective declaration that summarizes this entire night's mandate.
Let's hear it.
Okay, it's tonight under the closest and brightest light of the year, supermoon. I receive the fullness of the vision, 14.
And I use my mouth pad to secure Vav, the divine alignment for the entire year, 5786. My light will not go out and my path is clear.
That is an immense mandate packed into a single evening, isn't it?
It really is. That's a wonderful synthesis. So let's get practical. If this night is so highly timed, how do you actually engage with it? This takes us to activation and timing.
Right. And the sources are clear that timing matters because you're respecting the peak physical moment. Before we get to the clock, though, let's remember the 4 main spiritual reasons for this activation strategy.
Okay.
It's about leveraging the fullness and clarity of the light, responding to the visible sign of God drawing near, dedicating yourself to prophetic dreams like Daniel and Joseph, and internalizing that Hanukkah message of light that breaks impossibility.
And since we have specific astronomical peaks, not just a general full moon, the sources suggest a 3-phase activation strategy.
Tied to precise timing.
But let's clarify for the listener. The sources use Eastern Standard Time, but the principle isn't about the EST hour itself, right? It's about focusing on the principle represented by that astronomical moment wherever you are.
Absolutely. The first phase is the morning declaration. This aligns with the exact moment of lunar perigee, the peak of physical nearness. In EST, this is precisely 6:07 a.m.
And the focus of that moment.
Purely on nearness. It's the moment to combat any feeling of spiritual distance or delay. The sources recommend declaring, what felt far will now feel near, God is drawing near to me and my household.
Wow, that requires some real dedication, waking up before dawn for a spiritual activation. What about people outside of that time zone?
They stress that while the astronomical peak is 6:07 a.m. EST, the intent of the morning declaration can be captured by just making it the first action of your day. It's about leveraging that principle of nearness before the sun rises.
Got it. Okay, then we move into the second phase, the visual moment.
Phase 2 is the evening activation around your local moonrise. For example, in New York, that's about 4:56 p.m. EST. This is the time to engage physically.
A prophetic act.
Yes. This is where you step outside, if you can, and you literally receive the light. This is where you declare, I receive revelation that pierces darkness. It's about physically welcoming the clarity.
And phase 3 is the critical final moment, the peak revelation moment.
This happens at 6:14 p.m. EST, the exact moment of 100% full illumination. The number 14 is tied right into the timing. This is the hour for the main kingdom alignment activation.
This is where the Peh and the Vav come into play with maximum force.
Precisely. This final phase is about dedicating the rest of the night to prophetic dreams and making those specific, targeted declarations for the alignment of everything that has been delayed. You use your Peh to hook the Vav into place for the whole of 5786.
And the sources have specific declarations to help with this, right? It's all centered on clarity and nearness.
Yes, they recommend specifically renouncing spiritual confusion, doubt, and mental fog. You're actively declaring God's voice is closer than ever before to remove the mental clutter.
And they encourage you to make it hyper-specific. Don't just declare general alignment. Ask for illumination on one specific confusing decision or relationship.
Exactly. It moves from a broad concept to a very targeted, actionable declaration.
So, to summarize the mandate we have unpacked, this night, December 4th, 2025, is presented as the peak of Kislev's power. This convergence of closeness, the supermoon, and completion, the 14, where intentional speech, Peh and Vav, secures your alignment for the year 5086.
It is about seizing the maximum light and clarity available in the heavens to secure your path on Earth.
But after discussing all this amazing, brilliant light and closeness, how do the sources keep us grounded? They provide one final, profound scriptural reference that puts it all into perspective.
Yes. While we celebrate the supermoon as the brightest light of the year, the ultimate confirmatory scripture cited is Job 26.9. He covers the face of the full moon and spreads over it his cloud.
What does that tell us? On this night of incredible brightness, why highlight a covering?
The insight is this. Even this glorious bright supermoon is positioned as a covered vessel.
Ugh.
Its light is ultimately controlled and overshadowed by the ultimate light source.
Wow.
It reminds us that the brightest visible light we see is only a reflection, a sign, and a pointer to the far greater, deeper revelation that the Father is ready to give. It's a final command to look past the signal and focus entirely on the source.
A perfect final thought to leave you with. Don't just observe the signal, actively receive the source. Take these concepts of Hebraic alignment and astronomical timing and explore how they might secure your destiny in the year ahead. Thank you for diving deep with us.